It's time to bring on our guest. What's going on? This is Jack from the Uptown Update. Welcome to the show, man.
Going, boys. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Please excuse my voice. If y'all weren't aware, we had a pretty big game on Saturday, and I used it all.
Hey, that's all right. You guys got a big win. You beat Duke 34-27. That had to feel good. I mean, that just had to be so satisfying after the way they stole your quarterback.
Yeah, there's just a way you're supposed to leave a program. In the world of college football right now, right? It's inevitable. Players run to the portal. That's fine. You got to leave on good terms. Don't quit on your team. And it did feel good. It was kind of weird. Obviously, I've been to games, right, where the fan base hates the opposing team and they're loud and they boo and they cheer and stuff like that. I don't think I've ever been to a matchup before where the crowd hates one specific player on a team, and it was pretty nasty. I mean, Darian Mensah, Duke's quarterback, former Tulane quarterback, was warming up by the student section before almost every drive, and the student section was just letting him have it the whole entire game.
I can only imagine.
Yelling things like "traitor, traitor, traitor" the whole entire media timeout while he was warming up. It got to the point where I almost felt bad for him. His teammates were coming up and pat him on the back and stuff, but that was an awesome environment. It was a great win, and I don't think the game was quite as close as the score indicated. Mensah did most of his damage after the Wave took an 18-point lead with about 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So it was a lot of fun. I'll tell y'all that.
Well, the game got up to 24-3.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I mean, it was almost halftime. It was an absolute blowout for a while. Even in your wildest dreams, did you expect a scoreline like that heading into half?
I mean, I'd be lying if I said I expected it, but that's like what you hoped happened. You hope Mensah got out there and was just rattled, and we picked him off a few times, and it became a blowout. But I'll say Javian White, and I want to talk about him a little bit because he's my pick for player of the year so far. A true sophomore corner. He dropped a second interception in the first half with about a minute and a half to go in the half that would have put the Wave back in the red zone. And if that had happened at 24-3 and we got another touchdown before half, the game was over, right? Like that drive, actually, Duke ended up scoring a touchdown right before the half, and that kind of kept the game alive for a little bit. And then Retzlaff obviously fumbled on the first drive of the second half and got even closer. But if White doesn't drop that interception and Tulane gets more points before the half, the scoreline would have looked how it felt in the stadium.
It was dominating. That's how I looked at it, and they were just ready. And Summerall seems to have this ability to motivate your team properly, whether it was the Northwestern uniform gate situation or now playing your former quarterback, and he knows his strengths and weaknesses as well. And they were able to play off that. Retzlaff was awesome, though. 245 yards passing, 111 rushing, 4 touchdowns on the ground, and 95 QBR. I know this isn't how it works, but how do you feel about the QB swap? Like the trade of Mensah for Retzlaff. Do you feel like he might suit what Summerall wants to do better? Like, how do you feel like that went down?
Well, all last year, the coaching staff was trying to get Mensah to run more and take off more because he's pretty fast. I mean, he's not Retzlaff fast, but he's got mobility. And he wouldn't, like Mensah, to his credit, keeps his eyes down the field and tries to extend plays and throw passes. But Retzlaff is not afraid to take off, and he is really fast. I mean, Michael Pratt was a good runner a few years ago, but he hasn't touched Retzlaff's top speed, right? We really didn't open the playbook in the first 2 matchups against Northwestern and South Alabama. And there was a lot of debate amongst Tulane fans on whether that was on purpose or whether Retzlaff didn't know the playbook yet or why it looked sort of tame. But really, what the difference in this particular matchup was the coaching staff ran a ton of RPO and read option plays, and the reason was because Duke plays fast. So to their credit, right, they get in the backfield fast. Well, guess what? If you're getting in the backfield fast and the ball's already in front of the line of scrimmage, then you're in the wrong spot. So the coaching staff was real excited to break out the read option and run a lot of plays with misdirection and try and capitalize on the speed of which Duke's defense played. Pro tip for Virginia Tech later in the season, I guess.
Yeah, we don't draw the Dukies this year, so that's nice.
We're beyond coaching points at this point. Though.
I don't think it would have helped anyway. But Sam, do you have something else for Jack?
Yeah, it was it is kind of surprising how quickly Jake Retzlaff has gotten his feet under him. I mean, this guy went from like pretty damning national story headlines, like some of you definitely don't want to be involved in. And then a couple months later, he's like rushing for over 100 yards every game and throwing for 3. Like, how did he turn this around so quick? And how did the coaching staff get him ready to be not only a key contributor to this team, but the quarterback of a team that we're going to talk about our playoff picks coming up here soon, is a team that's one of the leaders to make a playoff spot?
Well, Coach Summerall would call that last statement rat poison. He doesn't.
That's okay. He can do that. He
doesn't like to hear that praise quite this early on. But I'll say that, coming into the last few weeks of camp, Brendan Sullivan, the Iowa transfer, was actually slated to be the starter, but he got hurt. He injured his leg, and I think it was like 2 weeks before the Northwestern game. So, Retzlaff sort of fell into this spot and was only on campus for about 3 weeks before he was taking the bulk of the reps with the ones. And like I mentioned, I don't know if the full offensive install has been complete yet, but part of the reason why he's running so much is because he knows how to do that, right? He did it at BYU. He did it at the lower college levels and in high school too. So, well, I think the passing game will evolve as the year goes on, and I think we saw the first step of that evolution against Duke. But, there's a reason why he's tied for second in the entire country in rushing touchdowns right now, right? It's, hey, man, read the defensive end. If he's coming to tackle your running back, keep it. And he knows how to do that pretty well.
There's just like such a certain amount of luck that goes on in college football. And I'm not trying to knock anything that happened to Tulane, but like this quarterback
totally
fell into
lap.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's a credit to Tulane for being ready to what do they say? Like luck is when hard work meets or something, like preparation meets opportunity. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what happened here at Tulane is Tulane is a spot that is willing to pay for some players at the G5, and not a lot of programs at that level are. I mean, there's only a small handful. And so Tulane was ready. They said, we need a quarterback. They went out, they got a proven quarterback. Here they are. It sounds simple.
Best coaches figure out a way to take that guy within a few weeks and get him passing and rushing like this. I mean, the team would look a lot different without him. It's not to say they still wouldn't have won this game. We'll never know, but the best coaches can adapt like that. And it's why your coach is going to be sought after as we move through the season, but that's not what we're here to talk about. You also seem to have some nice skill players, despite losing Mekhi Hughes, despite losing Brazel, who we talked about just in the last segment 2 years ago. You got Hayes, Preston, Bohannon at wide receiver, and Gordon and Mobley at running back. Like, there's good options for Retzlaff and the rest of the offense to work with. And the success that Tulane has had since 2022, with Fritz and now Summerall, 12-2, 11-3, 9-5, 3-0, won a Cotton Bowl. And that's with losing all those guys, always having SEC teams and whatever outbid you. It's a testament to the structure of the athletic department. I've said this before on the show, like I would love to have Tulane in the ACC. One, it would be a great destination if you want to go watch a game, go down to New Orleans, but they're just doing things right down there. There's something structurally that, and maybe you could speak more to it, that, you're able to replace a guy like Willie Fritz who accomplished so much there and not lose a step.
Yeah. I'll give y'all a three-pronged answer here. So, I mean, number one, right? You've got to have organizational alignment, top to bottom. And I'm not talking. It doesn't stop at the athletic director, right? It goes all the way to the university president. And I mean, Tulane's a private university, so we don't have to deal with any sort of state funding or politics involved and stuff like that. So I think that's an asset, but really we call it Gibson Hall. That's our administration building. Gibson Hall has really supported athletics, and they wouldn't have, I don't think, without the Cotton Bowl win. I think that was really a turning point for this program where the university realized how much of an asset a good college football team could be. You know, Tulane's always thought about as a academic university or maybe a party school to some, but now it's a football school, I think. And so number one is organizational alignment. If Coach Summerall says jump, the entire university will jump, right? It's and you know, the staff itself is really good and really motivated, and they've worked together for as long as Summerall's been a head coach, and the consistency there is key. And then number two is it's no coincidence, right, that Tulane really picked it up in 2022 and NIL became a thing in 2021. You know, it's a very good university, and it's got a very wealthy alumni base. It's in a big city, right? A lot of business in New Orleans. So there's money there, right? And Tulane's capitalized on that. Was Fear the Wave Collective. I got to shout them out. They were one of the first NIL collectives, period, in the entire country. And they were very well run and very organized. And actually, one of the founders is our director of player personnel, or pseudo general manager, right? So he actually left with Fritz to go to Houston and then came back, and now he runs Tulane's like player acquisition department. And then the third thing is I think Summerall said it on the Group of Five Guys podcast, but he basically said, like, hey, look, New Orleans is a world-class city. Tulane's a world-class academic institution. And we're going to play winning football. If you can't recruit to New Orleans, then you just suck at recruiting. I'm paraphrasing there, but
yeah, he's got a point.
Right. So, you know, it's just an attractive destination, right? You play winning football, you get paid, and yeah, you get rewarded for it. Our backup defensive tackle is a starter at Wisconsin now. Like, you know, you play well, you're going to get your opportunity.
That was very well explained about how Tulane has done this come up.
It gives you vibes of, like, dude, I mean, Miami's a medium-sized private institution in a large city, and it works for Miami. They're one of the biggest programs in the country. You see what Stanford is able to do out in California, and you know, there is a proof of concept for the small to medium-sized private school in a big city developing really good athletics. It's not Tulane is, you know, obviously special in its own right, but in the world of college sports, we've kind of seen this story before. And I think, to me, that shows Tulane can sustain this, you know, past player turnover, coach turnover, whatever's naturally going to happen in college athletics. It's like, okay, this can go on for decades because it's done it other places.
I always compare it to TCU and what TCU did in the early 2000s. I think we're about 20 years behind TCU, but that's sort of the example that I always bring up of a school with a lot of history that, you know, didn't have a really solid football program, and then had sort of a transformational coach in Gary Patterson. They jumped conferences a few times and found themselves in a national championship game not that long ago.
Yeah, and it's a talent-rich area. You know, Texas is a talent-rich state. You guys are in the same, and Miami. Like, if you look at those those three examples of private schools, and Miami and Tulane are both like very high-quality academic institutions with very rich alumni bases in major cities. It's very interesting, and it's wondering how high they could go if they were to ever get in a bigger conference such as the ACC. You guys
love that. I'd love the ACC. Yeah, that'd be a great fit.
Dude, it's not that far-fetched. I mean, who knows what's going to, like, we've talked about it all the time, people, like, who knows what's going to happen in 5 years? Right. I have no idea at this point. But let's talk a little bit about the matchup with Ole Miss coming up. You said in a message to me earlier today, you're like, Tulane's in this weird spot. Like, they don't have a lot of big rivals now. Like there's been conference movement all over the place. You don't really play LSU anymore. Ole Miss is kind of right there, right? The state next door. And this, I don't see, it's not really a rivalry game, right? But this feels like a really big opportunity for Tulane and one that Ole Miss might be a little bit sleepy on.
Yeah, I mean, Ole Miss is actually Tulane's second oldest rival after LSU.
I was going to say, I was doing some Wikipedia research, and Ole Miss Tulane, which I was not aware of either, is a little bit of a rivalry.
Yeah, people forget because we haven't been in the SEC for 60 years, but we have a. If you look at like the games or the programs that Tulane's played the most games against, it's like LSU, Ole Miss, Alabama, Mississippi State. It's like all the old SEC rivals that we played for 60 years until we left the conference. So I mean, we haven't played them too much in super recent history, but we played them pretty tight in 2023, if y'all remember.
Mm-hmm.
Another game where the final score probably was indicative of how it actually went. And that game we were playing with a backup quarterback. It was a 3-point game in the fourth quarter.
Who was the quarterback that game?
So Michael Pratt was the starter, but he was hurt, and Kai Horton came in, who's now the backup quarterback at Washington. So another example there. He couldn't get on the 3 deep at Tulane, so he transferred to Washington. So I mean, it's an interesting matchup. I think you hit it on the head. I'm thinking Tulane's coming into this matchup playing with house money. We won 3 of our non-conference games. We have 2 power conference wins, which is something that the committee will always look at right down the road. We're not ranked. So if we were ranked, if we had a number next to our name, I think a lot of people would take us more seriously who aren't paying as close attention. And Ole Miss has LSU the week after us. They have LSU coming to town. And I was looking on Twitter today. I didn't see a lot of tweets about the Tulane game.
Perfect.
Yeah,
perfect.
That's what you want.
Exactly. So I don't think that they're going to come out scared. I think Tulane's going to come and say like, hey, look, we've got nothing to lose here. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Literally, who cares if we lose this game? Everyone expects us to lose this game. Let's go win. Like, why not? And I don't think Ole Miss is going to be prepared for that best effort. Which, by the way, Tulane's best effort is really, really good this year. We just haven't had that best effort for a complete 4 quarters yet.
Yeah, and I don't think Ole Miss has necessarily had their best effort yet either, and let's just hope it doesn't show up for your guys' sake on Saturday. and the time slot and everything is also great. It's 3:30 on ESPN. Like, you guys are going to be on in every bar around the country. It's a showcase game, and under Lane Kiffin, we know Ole Miss has the offense, right? It's gonna be dangerous. Your defense is gonna be working, and they have the big SEC bodies. What areas do you feel you might have an advantage on Saturday?
That's a great question. So obviously we just watched Tulane Green kind of light him up on the ground. And I alluded to it earlier, Jake Retzlaff, he's got, almost 300 rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns in 3 games. So, he can get it done. And we just started running RPOs and read options. We didn't really do that a ton in the first 2 games. So I think that's an advantage right there. I don't think their linebackers and their secondary are that good against the run. They obviously have a fantastic pass rush and a fantastic defensive line. It's pretty similar to Duke's defense, honestly. I think the game plan will be pretty similar. But yeah, I mean, and on the other side of the ball, everyone talks about Lane Kiffin passing, and they've got a great running back in Kwan Lacey, who's more of a physical guy, which sometimes Group of 5 teams struggle with, although I don't know if Tulane is in that same boat. But I'm really interested to see the matchup between Trey Harrison and some of those other transfer receivers they brought in against our corners. I talked about Javian White earlier, who, for my money, is the best corner in college football. I mean, this guy is so good. But the other sophomore we have is Joker Johnson, which is an awesome name. And he clamped up Andrel Anthony last game. I don't remember Andrel Anthony even having a catch. I actually should probably check that. But who was pretty good for Duke the first 2 matchups. So that's going to be a really fun matchup. We play a lot of man coverage on defense, which you wouldn't think is the route to success against Ole Miss, but it might be. I mean, if our corners can cover for 3.5 seconds, I think our pass rush will be able to do some damage. And who knows who's going to play quarterback, right? If it's Simmons, he's shown the propensity to turn the ball over. Tulane actually leads the country in forced turnovers, so that's a good matchup. But if it's Chambliss and that guy can run pretty fast, we struggled with South Alabama's Bishop Davenport, who was pretty mobile. Mm-hmm. So there's a risk there. But look, I mean, Lane Kiffin's playing the game. He said that Austin Simmons he anticipates, I think was the word he used, that Austin Simmons starts, but Chambliss is probably, I mean, he played better than Simmons has all year last game. So we'll see what happens.
Before we let you go on.
I just wanted to ask him a couple more things before we let him go, because I'm curious. Like, if Tulane were to win this game, what went well? Like, what do you need 4 turnovers? Do you need Jake to go nuts? Pass defense? Like, what is it if you're going to win?
Yeah, I mean, we have to limit explosive plays, right? Like, Ole Miss is going to move the ball. I'd rather them have like 8-9 minute drives where they're just dinking their way down the field and limiting the amount of possessions in this game. If we get into a shootout with Ole Miss, we're going to lose. So that's number one, limit explosive plays. Number 2 is Jake Retzlaff has to run the ball, but our running backs have to show up too. I think if we have 2 guys with over 60 rushing yards, that's a good sign. And then obviously, right, it's like special teams and turnovers are the things that change games. Our special teams has been fantastic through 3 weeks. Duke missed a field goal. They had a bad snap, right? And then a field goal got blocked. So some people will say like, oh, it was a fluke.Maybe Duke should have made that. Like, maybe, but there's a reason why all that stuff happened, right? Crowd noise, pressure, good special teams. So no silly mistakes like that.
The line is 11.5 right now. Ole Miss favored. How are you feeling about your chances? Like, how what's the vibe coming from the Tulane fan base right now?
I'm not trying to get clipped here.
I won't clip it.
So, I don't know. I mean, look, Ole Miss is a great team, right? It's tough to go into Oxford and come out with a win. They're ranked for a reason. They've got some talented players. 11.5 is a lot. There are stretches where Tulane sort of falls asleep. Like the fourth quarter of this Duke game, the first 5-10 minutes of the South Alabama game, and then the last few minutes of the game after the game was pretty much all but over. We fall asleep. If we don't fall asleep, right, we've allowed 14 points all season long, aside from those sort of like, the game's probably over, or not taking this team seriously, which they won't do to Ole Miss. This defense is pretty good, and 11.5 points is a lot of points. I like Tulane's chances. I don't think that this Ole Miss team is as good as the one we played in 2023. And then I think this Tulane team is better than the one we played in 2023, especially at the quarterback position, where, Kai Horton, for as good of a locker room guy and as solid of a servant in the program he was, Jake Retzlaff's a much, much better quarterback than Kai Horton was. So, I don't know.
To me, as an outsider, and probably I don't know what Sam's thinking, but I'm taking the points.
Pete, the bet's already been placed.
Okay.
That was placed at 12.5. Okay?
Yeah, I mean,
so
nice.
We are
nice.
That's a way too big of a line. Ole Miss has played 2 one-score games already. It's way too big of a line. My question for you was, the last time I talked to you in person was right before Virginia Tech and Tulane played in the Military Bowl, the esteemed Military Bowl.
That's right.
And it was rainy and it was gross, and Virginia Tech looked like an absolute wagon in the rain. Now, Tulane had like 30 guys sitting out or whatever it was. It wasn't that many, but it was Michael Pratt.
It was all their best players.
And the coaching turns over and all that stuff.
We had a few player coaches too that game.
Yeah. I'll tell you, the difference between, all right, Tulane is, from after that game, it was Brent Price building it. Tech is bringing everybody back. They're building the program back to what it was a decade ago. And Tulane is starting their rebuild. And here we are a year and a half later, and the two programs could not be in more different places. Did you like? I don't really even know what my question is from this, to be honest with you.
What the heck happened?
What the heck happened? And
Yeah.
it's not as much of like surprise that Tulane did it, or I mean, quite frankly, surprise that it happens at Virginia Tech. I just think it's kind of crazy that after that game, which is a bowl game, and they take them for what they are, right? It just shows you how quickly programs can turn on a dime in this day and age, and they can turn up and they can turn
if
down.
you don't have the alignment that Jack was talking about earlier within the athletic department, president all the way down, this is what happens. And we don't have that at Virginia Tech.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's it, right? I think we had Sean King, legendary Tulane quarterback, on the podcast one time, and he said something that was so simple, but it's like really wise. He said, "It is so damn hard to win a football game. Like, the amount of things that could go wrong that can cause you to lose are exponential. And the amount of ways to win a football game are so finite, right? And it's like the magic of doing all those things right multiple times in a row and winning lots of football games is extremely difficult. So if you don't have people who are rowing in the same direction, right? If you got people who are trying to get off the boat or turn left when you're supposed to turn right, or who knows, like one guy can mess up a play and it's a touchdown on defense. So, it's
attention to detail. We went into it a lot last night when we were talking about the Pry firing. Just there was a severe lack of attention to detail with our last staff, not winning on every margin, all this kind of stuff that adds up to your program going in the direction that Tulane's has. And that's cool for you guys. My father was from New Orleans. I've been down there a lot in my life, and he used to sing this song. I don't know if this is a fight song or a real song, but it's short, and I just want to test it out. High above the Mississippi, standing in plain view, there's an old abandoned outhouse known as LSU. Is that a real Tulane song?
If it was a popular song, it was before my time, but I don't.
I like it.
I like it too. I might have to start singing it, especially if we beat Ole Miss and then Ole Miss goes around and beats LSU the next week. That'd be pretty funny.
A transitive property win.
That's right. Exactly.
Well, anyway, you've been very generous with your time tonight, Jack, and it's good to get a little perspective on what could be a playoff team down the road. And if they take care of business against Ole Miss, or even keep it close, it's going to greatly increase the odds for Tulane to get in the playoffs.
That's rat poison, right? We just got to focus on winning the game. That's all.
We're gonna go 1-0 this week.
1-0 this week. That's exactly right.
And then we get in the training room. We get ready to go for next week.
And as outsiders, me and Sam will just get to sit back and enjoy while you're wringing your hands. But that's what being a fan's all about.
Appreciate the show.
Oh yes. Thank you for being here, Jack. We'll talk to you again. I'm sure one day again soon. All right, man. Have a good one.
All right.
Thanks, Jack.
Later. Great interview. Great perspective on the Tulane program from Jack. Almost lost him right at the end there.
Right at the end. It is so cool to that's one of the reasons, like when I did Behind Enemy Lines 2 years ago, I think it was one of my favorite things of like talking to other people who were as passionate about their programs as we are about the Hokies, and you give really cool perspective, and you're going to learn things that you would never, ever know about a team. Even if you're the most diehard college football fan diving into all the national media, you're never going to get detail like that from anywhere else. So I'm big on the Green Wave. We'll get to it on the playoff picks, but I think they've really, really impressed me so far this year.
Yeah.